Madam President, I wish to thank you for the floor and to congratulate you for convening this session of the High-Level Political Forum. I also wish to thank you for the honor and opportunity to share Zambia's progress in the implementation of the Agenda 2030 on Sustainable Development and the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. Madam President, the Government of the Republic of Zambia is strongly committed to the implementation of the transformative 2030 Agenda on Sustainable Development. The country's first voluntary national review underscores this commitment, integrating the SDGs into the national planning framework and putting into place strong coordination and reporting mechanisms. Further demonstrates the country's resolve to anchoring its development trajectory on the 2030 Agenda. The current National Development Plan, like the SDGs, has adopted an integrated multi-sectorial approach to the planning as opposed to sector approaches which characterized previous plans. Based on the broad pillars of the 7th National Development Plan, Zambia uses 5 strategic pathways to accelerate the implementation of the 7th National Development Plans, and these are: at 1, economic diversification and job creation; at 2, poverty and vulnerability reduction; at 3, reducing development inequalities; at 4, enhancing human development; and finally, creating a conducive governance environment for a diversified economy. To ensure adequate coverage of the SDGs in the 7th National Development Plan, SDG targets and indicators have been mainstreamed across all the 5 pillars of the 7th National Development Plan. To this effect, the plan, which serves as a vehicle towards the achievement of Zambia's long-term Vision 2030, has mainstreamed 86% of the Strategic Development Goals targets. In addition, the National Strategic Coordination Framework, developed in 2017, has ensured harmonization of SDGs coordination with the 7th National Development Coordinating Framework, implying that as we are implementing the 7th National Development Plan, we are simultaneously implementing the SDGs. Madam President, with regard to the policy environment, Zambia has been making strategic efforts to ensure that an enabling policy environment is created for smooth implementation and monitoring of SDGs in Zambia. The country has worked on a number of legislation and policy documents, which include, at A, the Planning and Budgeting Bill of 2019, whose aim is to strengthen accountability, oversight, and participation mechanism in the national planning and budgeting process. At B, the Access to Information Bill, whose aim is to improve accountability and the flow of information. At C, the Monitoring and Evaluation Policy, with the aim of improving efficiency and effectiveness in service delivery whilst promoting accountability. At D, with reference to the recently enacted Statistics Act, the government has been working on transforming the national statistics system in order to make it more effective and responsive to the data demands of SDGs and other national development programs. Lastly, to ensure proper accountability and oversight, Parliament has been active in promoting the SDG agenda. The Office of the Auditor General has also been monitoring the SDG progress with a view of accessing the country's readiness in the implementation of SDGs. May I now call upon my Permanent Secretary to go into some key outcomes and supportive institutions that are in place. Madam, I thank you.
Madam President, the implementation and reporting on SDGs are coordinated through cluster-based institutional structures at national and subnational levels. The integrated nature of institutions has fostered doing more with less and has strengthened synergies and partnerships on implementation mechanisms and processes, resulting into multi-sectoral responses to development challenges. The 7th National Development Plan, which has taken on board the SDGs, is coordinated through a 3-tier institutional arrangement, which include oversight structures, where Parliament, House of Chiefs, Auditor General's Office superintend over the oversight functions. With regard to policy and implementation institutions, we have the Cabinet itself, chaired by the President, Cabinet Office, the Ministry of National Development Planning, and the Ministry of Finance as oversight and coordinating institutions. We also have in place advisory structures, and these are also responsible for passing decisions to advise the presidency. And these include the cluster advisory groups, the provincial development coordinating committees, the district development coordinating committees, and the ward development coordinating committees. The advisory structures have been in place and have been running and are chaired by the minister responsible for national development planning, who also takes recommendations to cabinet for final decision making. Madam President, using these structures and the multi-response strategy that has been put in place, the following achievements have since been noted during the implementation of Sustainable Development Goals. Number one, reducing poverty and vulnerability. Households, for instance, in extreme poverty are receiving social cash transfer. In 2019 alone, a total of 116 out of 138 districts countrywide were covered, as compared to only 38 districts that were being covered in 2014. This has contributed to a reduction in multidimensional poverty, dropping from 50% in 2016 to 44% in a 3-year period in the year 2019. Creating a conducive environment for sustainable economic growth. Zambia, being a landlocked country, has significantly invested in infrastructure development, which includes improving the road network, airports, energy, health, and education facilities, thereby facilitating trade and creating a conducive environment for sustainable development. For instance, in the period 2016 to 2019, a total of 20,888 kilometers of road network was upgraded, rehabilitated, or maintained throughout the country. With regard to environment and climate change, and in line with the Paris Agreement, Zambia has pledged to reduce its emissions by 38,000 greenhouse emissions by 2030. And so far, cumulative emissions have reduced by 39%. That is between 2015 and 2019. Zambia is also promoting sustainable initiatives such as renewable energy, which has seen the country diversify its energy mix from 99% reliance on hydropower production in 2011 to 80.6% reliance in 2019. Solar energy alone accounts for about 90 megawatts, which is about 3% of the total energy production. Climate smart agriculture, water harvesting techniques, and green infrastructure are part of the climate change adaptation interventions that are being promoted in the country. Zambia, however, is seeking very strategic partnerships in accelerating its adaptation agenda. On human development, we recognize that human capital is key to responding to development challenges of the 21st century, especially gender equality, improvements in health, new technology, innovations, and skills development. Noticeable achievements are the following. Maternal mortality ratio declined from 398% per 100,000 live births in 2014 to 252 in 2018. Child mortality rate has declined from 31 deaths per 1,000 live births in 2014 to 19 deaths in 2019. Immunization coverage has increased from 68% in 2014 to 75% in 2018. In 2018 alone, the completion rate for primary education stood at 97.3%, while junior and senior secondary schools stood at 87.7% and 36% respectively. Madam President, based on the voluntary national report assessment and indeed the preliminary results of the midterm review of the 7th National Development Plan, the following challenges have been identified. Number one, the country is still grappling with inadequate management information system, especially at lower levels. However, the recent enactment of the Zambia Statistics Act of 2018 opens opportunities for improvement. We also have contraction of resource envelope amid rising national debt, which is posing a challenge to SDG financing. Adverse effects of climate change and the recent COVID-19 pandemic has continued to pose major threats to achieving the SDG targets as enshrined in the 7th National Development Plan. In line with the SDG 17, Zambia seeks strong partnerships to promote the green growth agenda and mobilize resources to finance its development trajectory. Thank you.
Madam President, various CSOs networks under the umbrella of the National CSO Platform on SDGs commend the government of Zambia for the progress in the implementation of programs contributing to the progress on sustainable development goals. However, as civil society, we note that we need to strengthen our engagement and collaboration with government in the development process, in planning, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. In the voluntary national reviews and the Sustainable Development Goals national plans as a whole, the policy dialogue space in terms of access to information on sustainable development goals, inclusiveness of inputs from a variety of national actors and CSO networks should further be strengthened too. Madam President, as civil society, we note that government is in the process of enacting the Planning and Budget Bill number 22 of 2019. We call on government to expedite the enactment of this law, as this law will enhance adequate resource allocation to various sectors of the economy. The recent impact of COVID-19 and debt continues to be a huge stumbling block to development. Debt repayment has now taken a huge part of the budget, leaving little room for spending on SDG implementation. What then are we asking? Number one, government must establish a more inclusive process for CSO participation and redefine its criteria of selecting CSOs participating on SDGs in Zambia. Number two, government must increase social sector spending to reduce vulnerability and poverty. What question do we then have for the government? What is government doing to improve social dialogue on the procedures and processes of the implementation of SDGs and provide clearly laid reporting mechanisms on SDGs in the country? Allow me to now speak as a Zambian child coming from the northern part of Zambia, Kasama to be specific. The children of Kasama district are privileged to hold dialogue meetings with government officials such as the district commissioner and some councillors. Through this process, children of Musenga Primary School have been given the opportunity to have their school electrified in order for them to have ICT lessons. I therefore find it good that the Zambian children can be given a wider platform for many more Zambian children to be engaging with government officials and put forward their asks, and also ensure that their right to speak out and be heard is actually realized. Thank you.